The United States border crisis has been getting consistently worse since the start of the Biden administration back in 2021, with the fiscal year 2023 seeing record highs in illegal immigration, mostly from migrants coming from Venezuela. We spoke to Rolando Vasquez, an immigration attorney based out of Miami, Florida, who has been dealing with a lot of these asylum cases from mainly Venezuelan migrants that cross illegally into the United States. Vasquez has been exposing these migrant gang members that have been crossing illegally into the United States under the Biden administration and are exploiting the situation to obtain asylum here in the United States.
In the last few years, what I've seen is that a lot of people claiming protection from their home country, the majority of them that I deal with are from Venezuela. The ones that have come in recently, most of them don't have asylum claims. Most of these have admitted that they either supported Hugo Chavez or Maduro. And what I find interesting is that I tell them, okay, but that's not an asylum claim. Why are you coming to request protection? They don't even have a reason, or they can't even articulate. And they're basically just say, well, I'm not really here for protection. You know, it's just hard in our country. They don't even realize that they were supporting the very regime that put them in this humanitarian crisis. What I've also been seeing that's more concerning is that there's a lot of criminals that have come and blended in with these asylum seekers. They're being released into our country and they are not here to request asylum. They're not gonna show up to their court dates. The majority of them here are to continue their life of crime. And that's really what I'm seeing in the last few years. And I've seen that since the Biden administration took control of this country. I refuse to believe that, you know, individuals with teardrops or machine guns tattooed on their face, that our Border Patrol agents can't make a rational call to say this is not someone that we want in our country. And they're just inspecting them and allowing them into our country. And then they get lost into our country, and much of them are committing crimes in the local communities. Yet, I've represented family units who have lost their asylum claim. The judge didn't side with them, didn't believe they had enough persecution, etc. And they're, families with no criminal history, working, not asking for public benefits, and they were prioritized for deportation. And that's what just recently a family was deported that I was representing. Why have they not prioritized these criminals that they've had in their custody that have criminal convictions? Why are they not being prioritized? Why are the family units being prioritized to be deported and the criminals are being left in our country? Venezuela right now is actually safer, in my opinion, than the US. If you're in Venezuela, I believe if the only danger that exists if you're out speaking against the regime, I think there's political persecution still, yes, and I think that's still the danger. But as far as criminals, they're in the US. They're in New York, Chicago, Miami, Dallas, Houston. I mean, they're all across the US. Me as a US citizen, someone who loves my country, someone who I know that I have a duty to protect it. If our Department of Homeland Security will not do it, then I feel that I have a duty to step up and at least start calling them out and letting them know that we know that they're here and we know what they're doing.
CBP and ICE, they're trying to promote more of the deportation flights of Venezuelans. And we're seeing that the Biden administration extended the temporary protected status for Venezuelans that crossed into the United States before July 31st of 2023.
I heard Alejandro Mayorga talk about this. He stated that we feel that the ones who come after a certain date, that there's no need for protection. I'm thinking that's not true, because you've already made it clear that there's a humanitarian crisis in Venezuela. Honestly, I think it's a joke, because he should be more focused on the criminals coming into the country from Venezuela, as opposed to saying that from a certain date they don't have a need for protection anymore. That just doesn't make sense. I worked the border during the MPP program, during the Trump administration, the Migrant Protection Protocols cases. That program worked. I mean, the numbers, it was staggering how the numbers declined from how they were entering. They implemented the program. Nobody was coming in. They had to wait for the process in Mexico, and only legitimate claims were really staying. There was some that I agree that weren't legitimate. They just stayed around because they had nothing else to do. But we didn't have these criminals coming in. We'll have journalists that will say in general they know that these criminals are coming in. But what I've done is I've taken it a step further, and I'm specifically calling out criminals that I know from Venezuela that work for the regime. And I'm publishing them on my social media saying, I have information that you hear. I publish their pictures. I publish pictures with them in Maduro. I publish pictures with them and basically agents from the regime. And I say, you're not here requesting asylum. You're not here requesting protection. You were sent here by the regime to do their dirty work. I receive a few death threats on a daily basis now at this point. There was this one individual who's living in Atlanta. I had pictures of him in Maduro. He works for the regime. He does music and he talks about his life of crime. Him himself has threatened to kill me.
Hay un abogado aquí de migración que se llama Rolando Vasquez. Tú lo puedes buscar por Instagram. Y el tipo me expuso ante la comunidad. Entonces, ustedes me conocen y saben que yo, mis problemas callejeros, siempre los he arreglado en la calle.
In light of that, many other death threats have come saying don't mess with him, don't mess with the Tren de Aragua, which is a criminal organization from Venezuela that also works with the regime. And apparently this Tren de Aragua and their criminal organization have a hit out on me. So what I've had to do as a response to that is buy firearms and now protect myself. I'm not scared. I know what I got myself into, but I mean, I do have to take precautions. I don't want to die. I have a family and I have, kids to take care of. The public needs to know that we have to take this into our own hands now. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. That's why I'm risking my life by publishing this information, because I've handed this information over to the Department of Homeland Security, to the FBI in some instances. It doesn't seem like the federal government's siding for us, so it looks like us as a community need to come together. We need to have a plan. I'm sounding the alarm that they are going to attack at some point. That's all roads lead to that conclusion. I hope that our CBP agents and our ICE agents start to do the right thing and shut that border down. And I know that this comes from the higher up, Alejandro Mayorga, the Biden administration. I pray to God that our agents start to take control of the situation and stop letting these people in. I mean, they're coming to do harm.